Architectural Builder Supply is pleased to present you with this recording of the technical question that is listed in the title of this video.
This call may be monitored and recorded for quality assurance.
Hello.
Okay, so do you have a tech talk question that we can go over today? The last thing that you have encountered that you've been interested or curious about, what would that be? A part number or a product or an application?
Let's do the one we were touching on earlier, the automatic flush bolt.
You want to talk about automatic flush bolts?
Sure.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's dive into the world of flush bolts.
If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Let's type in Ives, and then click on the first item, and now get to the manufacturer's page for Ives. And then when that page loads, you can scroll down and click on Ives Architectural Hardware Products Catalog 2022, and let me know when you've got the catalog open. Do you have the catalog open?
Yeah.
Okay, go to page 155. Now, there are flush bolts that are intended for wood doors and flush bolts that are intended for metal doors. It's not impossible to take a metal door flush bolt and forcibly install it on a wood door. In fact, it's quite common to do that. However, you don't want to engage in that because when you look at page 155 on the FB31, whether it be a P for pair, T for top, or B for bottom, that flush bolt set, that automatic flush bolt set, has been tested for use on fire doors, as you see under certifications, on metal doors only. This has not been tested on wood doors. If you were to prep a pair of fire-rated wood doors for this flush bolt, your door would no longer be fire rated. Even though you can physically route the door to accept this, you have violated and voided the fire rating of the opening because of it. So when it comes to fire rated doors, you only use ones meant for metal doors, and you only use ones meant for wood doors based on the door composition. And FB31 is a metal door set. Now, because we're talking about it, go to page 157. This is the same functionality as the FB31, except it's meant for wood doors. The inherent difference is the wood door models are always corner style mounts. You'll always mortise the corner of the door, rather than having to drill a rod through the bottom or top of the door to the flush bolt body itself. So what is possible to prep on a steel door is not always possible to prep on a wood door. And what you can get away with on a wood door isn't necessarily easy or possible to get away with on a metal door, because the composition of the doors themselves literally dictate how the hardware has to be manufactured so as to be compatible with it. A great example of that, and I won't bother to show you, is but electric strikes meant for metal frames have the orientation of the solenoid vertically. Electric strikes meant for wood frames have the orientation of the solenoid horizontally, because you can't make one fit in the other, and that I found out the hard way. So the first thing about flush bolts is, if they're fire doors, you never mix and match. Metal goes with metal, wood goes with wood. Now, back to page 155. This is, whether it be a pair, a top, or a bottom, doesn't matter. In the edge of the faceplate, there's a triangular shaped gizmo. That's the trigger. Flush bolts are always installed in the edge of an inactive door. In almost all instances. I've seen some clever installations of manual flush bolts in other doors. But an automatic flush bolt is used exclusively when what you have is a pair of, in this case, an FB31, a pair of fire-rated metal doors, or non-fire rated. They don't have to be fire rated. And when the inactive door is closed, those two triggers are sticking out of the edge. When the active door comes to close, it will push the triggers in and force the top and bottom bolts up into the header and down into the sill or threshold. That's what completely locks the opening. So in the active door, if you have a keyed lock, and in the inactive door you have automatic flush bolts, when you push the inactive door closed first and then the active, everything is locked down. Now, what would be the problem if the active door closed first? The problem would be that the inactive door couldn't close because it has to be timed. In fire-rated openings with automatic flush bolts, you'll have door closers or a closing device on both doors. You also need what's called a coordinator. The coordinator does this, and there are 3 different types of coordinators. The coordinator will hold the active door open, allowing the inactive to close, and once the inactive is closed, it will allow the active to close. And the coordinator is going to be, let's take a look. Just for the sake, because we started on automatic flush bolts, you're going to want to go to page 170, and they're showing you this coordinator vertically. That's not how they're installed. They're installed on the soffit of the header, and those big lobes that you see at either end, you have one lobe is rigidly projecting. That's the side that goes towards the active door. And the other end has the trigger, meaning when the inactive door closes, it depresses the trigger, and then it allows the active door restraining trigger to collapse and allow the active door to get closed. So go back to, so there are different coordinator shapes, but they all do the same thing. They force the active to stay open until the inactive closes when you have automatic flush bolts. And in fact, in pairs of fire doors, you're going to need, if someone says to you it's automatic or semi-automatic flush bolts, you're going to say, okay, what about the coordinator? What about the closing devices? Because you need all of it together. So automatic flush bolts operate in that way. If you go to page 156, now what you're dealing with is a FB31T, which is the top bolt only, and that is for an installation where you will not have a bottom flush bolt, where that auxiliary fire latch is a 2-piece system where you're going to put part of it in the active door and the other part in the inactive door. In the case of a fire, a bolt is going to violently shoot out from the edge of the active door into the strike of the inactive. So you can get away with just one flush bolt because there are instances where you can't have a bottom flush bolt, like in a hospital where they don't want any holes in the floor because that's hard to clean. So you can do a top automatic only with an auxiliary fire latch. And everybody makes fire latches. Page 157 is our wood door version of automatic. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. And then page 158 is the wood door version of top only with an auxiliary fire latch. Now, when you get to page 159, what you have is constant latching. Now what happens here is you can have the door the inactive door just close, and it will stay latched because that top bolt has a prep on it that will hit a strike that's mortised up into the header. So you could just physically pull that door closed, and it's every time the inactive is closed, regardless of the active being open or not open, the inactive is always latched. So you're always secured. And there's a trigger in the edge where you can put your finger in and pull it down, and it will suck that latch down to allow you to open up the inactive door. That's what's called constant latching, meaning every time the inactive is closed, that door is latched, and it happens constantly every time it's open and closed. When you get to page 160, you have the same concept with top only and then a fire latch. When you get to page 161, same concept. Constant latching, but for wood doors. Page 162, wood doors, constant latching with an auxiliary fire latch. Then when you get to page 163, now you're in the realm of just manual flush bolts. Manual. Everybody deals with these in residential applications. The 261, 262, 265, that's all for residential typical doors. When you get to page 164, you'll now see a manual flush bolt for a wood door. Again, take note, it's a corner style. That's corner style is going to be used on wood doors. Scroll down to page 165. Now you see an FB 157. That's meant for metal doors, even though you can prep that into a wood door, assuming it's not fire rated. What's very unusual about an FB 157 is the body size. The width of the faceplate is 1.25 inches. Very unusual, but you will have clients with very old doors like from the 1970s that are prepped for these 1.25 inch puppies. Very uncommon. Not unusual, they're just not common. When you get to page 166, this is the granddaddy of all flush bolts. Back in the old days, they used to just call this a 458. This is the Rockwood 555, this is the DCI 780F, this is the FB 458, the manual typical flush bolt used primarily on metal doors, but you see them on wood doors as well. They can be made to work. And what's nice about these is it's just your garden variety material that you've sold and shipped countless times. Now, with these manual flush bolts, you might say to yourself, well, what if I have a 9-foot door? Well, that rod that's there, that's just 1/4 threaded rod. So what the customer has to do is buy a longer threaded rod, cut it to length, and then just install it so that you don't need a ladder to actually flip that trigger. FB 458s are sold as each, but you generally buy them in pairs because you generally have one top and bottom. Now, page 167 has dust-proof strikes. The next time you're walking around a mall and there's a pair of doors, look at the floor of the inactive door. You might have one of these dust-proof strikes. They come without and with faceplates, DP1, DP2. If you were to put your finger right in the center of the DP1 or the 2, that's spring-loaded. That's meant for the flush bolt to go down into in the bottom only, and it's dust-proof, meaning every time the bolt is retracted, that spring pops back up, pushing out any dust that has been collected in there, keeping it clean. When you have a hole in the floor for a flush bolt, the bolt of a flush bolt, it will collect particulate over time, and that bolt will no longer be able to be thrown into the hole. And that basically concludes, that is an overview of flush bolts. What question do you have?
What is the primary setting that this would be used in?
Flush bolts?
Yes.
In pairs of doors. You have to have some way of securing the inactive door because the active door locks to the inactive door. And if there were no flush bolts on an inactive door and a lock on the active door, you could come up to the active door, pull on the knob or lever, and both doors are going to open. So it basically, if you have a pair of cabinet doors, if you have an entertainment center and you've got 2 doors, but you don't want to have both doors operating all the time, you would put what's called an elbow catch on the inside for the door that you don't use. You open up the one door, you can reach in and then trip the elbow catch and then open both doors. It's the same concept, where you're locking one door to the jamb and floor, and you're locking the other door to that secured first door. The secured first door is the inactive, and the other door that you're locking to the inactive is called the active door. That's where pairs of doors are always going to have these. Now, having said that, I've also seen the FB 458 mortised to the face of a single door, to the face of it, not the edge, where someone wanted extra security, and it was quite odd having seen that. And I believe that the person who did that had no idea how to prep for it, not realizing that they never go to the face of the door, that they go to the edge of a door, the style of the door only. Anything else?
Nope.
That wraps it up. Ciao for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Architectural Builders Supply hopes you have enjoyed this program. Please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.